All right, well, welcome to the Franklin Community School Board meeting. It is our tradition to begin with a prayer, so Mr. Thompson's going to lead us in a brief prayer, and please join us.
Join Father, thank you much for a break in the cold weather and the bringing of spring, and we look forward to a break for staff and students on spring break, a much needed break after a challenging winter. Thank you for students and staff that and what they do here at school every day, and we pray your blessing on them. We give you thanks. Amen.
Thank you. All right, we begin with recognitions. And we have quite a few of them tonight.
We do have several of them. Get started. Well, welcome everyone. We have several state qualifiers tonight to honor, and so we are going to start off with.
We're starting off with our ISMA
Right.
students who have recently participated at the state solo and ensemble competition. This is the largest group of band participants to ever play, and we will recognize those who received silver awards first. So if you would come up, John Allen, Brett Beeman, Aurora Brown, Angelique Lanassa, Travis Muir, Luke Roberts, Michaelin Schmidt, and Kristen Wakefield.
Hello. All right.
What would you like for them to say?
Introduce their parents, and what instrument are you playing in band, please?
Well, I'm Brett. My dad, Jeff Beeman's over there, and I play the flute and piccolo in the band.
My name's Travis. My dad's right there, and I play the multi-tenor.
My name is Michaelin Schmidt. My mom's over there, and I play clarinet.
All right, well, come right here. We're going to grab a picture with everyone, and congratulations.
We'd next like to recognize those students earning gold awards, and we had several. Brett Beeman, Hannah Bennett, Carly Bowers, Briar Brown, Kayla Bull, Bethany Catlin, Jeff Clendenning, Mackenzie Greiner,
Hi. Brian.
Ethan Hykins, Amir Jones Scott, Michael Coomer,
Who are you?
Angelique Lanassa, Sophia Lewis, Michaela Moore, Emily Mundorf, Ben O'Haron, Andrew Rose,
Amir. Hi, how are you?
Riley Seal, Chris Segrest, Brianna Shepard,
Michael.
Lauren Staples,
Sophie.
Gabe Turner,
There you go. Michaela.
and TJ Basulik.
Emily.
Congratulations.
Ben. Andrew, how are you? Riley.
And you guys are allowed to introduce your parents by name.
Chris. Brianna.
On this side, it's my dad,
Lauren
Jeff Beeman.
Staples. And
My
Gabe.
name is Kayla and I play flute.
Is TJ here?
My name's Jeff Clendenning. That's my dad. I'm a percussionist.
Hi.
My name is Briar. My parents are Denise and Marlon, and I am also in percussion.
My name is Mackenzie. My mom's over there, and I'm a flute player.
I'm Michaela Moore. My parents are Steve and Robin Moore, and I'm a flute player.
I'm Amir Drayvon Jones Scott. My mom's over there. My little sister's right there, and I play percussion.
My name's Ethan. My mom and dad, Alice and Norm, are here, and I played snare drum and marimba.
My name is Michael Cummer. My parents, Jennifer and Sean Cummer, and I play bass clarinet.
My name's Sophia Lewis, and I play the flute.
My name's Emily Mundorf, and I'm a percussionist.
My name's Benjamin O'Haron. I'm in the percussion section, and my mother, Amy Wittstein.
My name is Andrew Rose. My parents are Eric and Lori Rose, and I'm a percussionist.
My name is Chris Seagrass, and my dad Jeff's over there.
I'm Brianna Shepard, and I came with my mom, Stephanie Shepard, and I play the flute.
My name is Gabriel Turner. My mother, Charlotte Stevens, and I'm a percussionist.
My name's Lauren Staples. I'm here with my mom and dad, and I play flute.
All right. We're going to try to get one big picture here. So let's get a couple, one big picture. Try to squeeze in and get a couple different rows. Let's try to do a third row where we're like, how are we going to do this? Huh? Okay. Squeeze on in. Yeah. Just here, you guys just come over and just kneel down. Slide in over here. Yeah. Yep, that'd be great. Can you get everybody?
See a panoramic on there.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I have Briar's paper. Sorry, Briar. There you are. Thanks.
Next, we'd like to recognize 2 student athletes who participated in the IHSAA Individual State Wrestling Competition, both finishing in 6th place. Jake Stevenson in the 170-pound weight class and Quinn York in the heavyweight class.
I'm Jake Stevenson. My parents are Mark and Susan Stevenson, and they were unable to attend tonight. I'm Quinn York, and my parents are Bob and Angie York.
For all of you who do not know, Jake actually blew out his ACL in the semi-state. And then he went on to compete that next Saturday, Friday and Saturday night, with basically on one leg and ended up 6th. The individual state champ at his weight class, he actually was ahead 5-1 before his knee injury. So I think if you look at Jake and you can see what happened, he is a returning state champ from last year. So he did quite well wrestling on one leg. All right, thanks.
Next, we'd like to recognize student athletes who participated in the IHSAA Boys State Swimming Competition. As a team, they placed 13 overall. Individually, we would like to recognize Josh Barrett for the 200 freestyle relay and 400 freestyle relay. Clayton Culp, 200 and 400 freestyle, placed 10th. In the 50 freestyle, 13th. In the 100 freestyle. He placed 10th in the 50 freestyle. Read my commas wrong. And 13th in the 100 freestyle. Adam DeStramp, 200 and 400 freestyle relay, placed 3rd in the 200 freestyle, which tied the school record, and 5th in the 500 freestyle. James Pryor placed 28th in the 100 breaststroke. AJ Rice participated in the 200 freestyle relay and 400 freestyle relay. The 200 freestyle relay team placed 10th, and that consisted of Adam, Clayton, AJ, and Josh. 400 freestyle relay team also placed 10th, and it included Adam, Clayton, AJ, and Josh. Congratulations.
I'm AJ Rice. My parents are Glenn and Julie Rice.
I'm Jimmy Pryor, and I have Shay Pryor and Jim Pryor here.
Hi, I'm Adam. My mom, dad, and little sister Kira are here.
I'm Clayton Culp, and my parents, Matt and Christina Culp, are here.
I'm Josh Barrett, and my parents, Keith and Amy, and my girlfriend, Anna, are here.
All right. Here, slide that way a little bit. We'll get a picture here of everybody. Thank you, everyone. Congratulations. Is that all? I've included everybody. Yep. That's all.
I would like to make a comment on with Jacob Stevenson with what he did at state and how he did it. And through that whole state tournament at the end, never saw him complaining, never saw him with a bad attitude. He just took it to him on one leg. And it, especially against the Yorktown kid that had beaten Jacob earlier in the year when Jacob was getting back into shape, and Jacob kept taking it to that kid who was ranked 4th in the state, and got to, I think, within 9 to 8. And in the third period, the Yorktown kid, because Jacob was taking it to him so hard, gassed and took an injury timeout. It just, I'll tell you, watching him, he's an honor to his family, to his sport, and to our schools. And it means a lot. Thank you.
All right, we're ready to begin the business portion. Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, we're ready to begin the business portion of the meeting, so this is a good time if anyone does not want to stay for that, who's here for awards, you're certainly welcome to leave at this point.
Sorry about that.
All right, before we begin the business portion of our meeting, I would like to invite any public comments on items that are on the agenda. Anybody wishes to comment on anything on the agenda can step to the podium, state their name, and please keep the comments to 2 minutes addressed to items on the agenda. Seeing none, are there any comments from the board or the administration before we begin? All right, first up are comments.
Maggie have a comment. Maggie, did you want to say something? Do you want to say something? Huh? Well, I saw her look back to you like you want to say something, so here you go. All right.
Yes, just state your name and then tell us what's on your mind.
Hey, I am Maggie Davenport, and the high schoolers that are here today are simply here in support of Mr. Harder. He will be truly missed.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you, and I'm sure that he appreciates that. All right, Music Council, any comments from music? Who's from?
Yeah, we just met this evening. We talked about scheduling, both at the 5th, 6th grade, as well as just the practice schedule. We talked about debrief of the musical and and discussion of the facilities and use of the facilities and where to practice, things like that. And then we talked about events for 2015, 2016 scheduling. Dr. Clinton, anything else?
No, I think we will be coming back in the future and talking just about the concept of how do you share student athletes, kids, all the things demanded of today's high school student with the performances, with all the practice schedules and those type of things. And how do you juggle all that? I know the kids sometimes feel in the middle. Do I go to this competition, that practice, and how do we do that? Mr. Catlin did present some things, and Mr. Wirtz asked him to kind of help us think in terms of prioritizing lists and kind of going from there. It was a real good conversation. We want to thank him for that.
Well, I know our athletic director has worked to coordinate those kinds of things between coaches and athletics, but I don't know we've ever had a dialogue between athletics and
the last several months we have. I know that it was on the spring coaches conversation. Mr. Harder did talk to him about sharing athletes. I know he's talked with Mr. Hummel as well. So we're continuing that conversation.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Athletic council?
We did meet about a month ago. A couple items of note is the next Grizzly games. We had the kickoff for that this past season, and that date has been set, and there's a group of students along with the athletic staff that are working through that. So another neat opportunity for that. Talk about a few other things that I forgot to write down. Jeff, remind me, did we, anything else relative that's pertinent for this group?
No, I think that was the big one.
The big one?
Yeah.
So that's mostly it from the athletic council.
Legislative council, I don't believe that we have anything there. Superintendent Strategic Task Force Council.
We did not meet this past month.
Communications Committee.
I'm going to pass that to Dr. Clendenning.
As you all know, we're hosting the Google Conference coming up April 11th and 12th. And the Star Media has reached out to Matt and offered to provide some opportunities in public relations for Matt and the Google Conference. He would pay for this out of E-rate. It would also kind of fit inside of our communication strategy, looking at reaching out to stakeholders and sharing information. So he did bring in a brief conversation with Communications Council, and I know Matt has it on as an action item if you would so choose to draw upon that. Like I said, it's E-rate dollars, so it'd be coming from the money that we get from the federal government on that.
Okay. Collective bargaining started informal negotiation, and everything's gone well. Central 9, not much new at Central 9. It's its annual banquet is this month, but I don't think there's any speaker for it this time. I think that's the first time.
That
I
is
can
correct.
remember.
No speaker. I asked today at the meeting.
So our banquet without a speaker this year. And then RDC.
Nothing really new to bring up.
All right. So next I've got the Star Digital Advertising.
That is that communications. If we could move it to an action item, please.
All right. All right. So I don't know that we need a motion to make it an action item, but we would need a motion to take action. So you're seeking approval of this agreement?
Correct, please.
All right. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
All right, it's been moved for approval. Are there any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
All right, consent agenda has been moved for approval. Any questions, comments, discussion on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mashmeyer, I have a couple comments, if I may.
Absolutely.
One is we get ready to vote on a couple personnel items. One, Jerry Wolford, guidance counselor at the middle school, is announcing his retirement here at the end of this school year. Also, Mr. Jackson, social studies teacher here at the high school, is retiring, and we'll miss them as we move forward. Also, I'd just like to, I know there's a lot of people here in support of Mr. Harder, and I can say thank you to that. And I would also say thank you to Doug for his leadership the last 3 years. And he's a very good man, a man of integrity, and we wish him the very best.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to superintendent reports.
Yes, we are going to have a presentation from Mrs. Staten and Mrs. Baker on how we are helping some kids transition into our schools. Mrs. Baker actually is a special service in Johnson County Surrounding Schools employee that specializes in autism. She's one of our leading experts. She's created a book, and then Mindy will also be here, and Mindy is our director of special education. So, Mrs. Baker?
Chris is going to hand out some copies of books that we make. This actually started when we opened this building a few years ago, where students were so anxious about coming into this huge building. So we created a book to give students with disabilities so they could see what it would look like before they got here and what the people that they needed to talk to, what they would look like as well. And so we've been using it at the high school for a while, and we decided to start using it in some of our elementary. We started with Northwood, and that came about because we had a student who has been in an ABA placement and was coming to Northwood, and we wanted to make that transition as smooth as possible. So I got with Chris, and she created the book.
And within the book, this is the one that's for the high school, but one of the core deficits for kids with autism is they have rigidity and they struggle and they lack routine and things to be very consistent. So new places and transitions can be very difficult, even meeting new people. So what we did was we embedded within the books QR codes. So the kiddo can come with their device or the parent's phone or anything. Well, of course, I'm getting the filter. And when you scan it, it comes up and they can hit play. And the different people within the technical difficulties will happen when you're under practice. This is Kate Kreitz, by the way.
Yeah.
But we have it where they can meet the different people within the building. The other thing that we've done for the high school, we've taken pictures of students going through the lunch line so they can see how that works, because lunch is a notoriously difficult time. We also have it for the hallway so they can see and hear what a passing period is going to look like, because those are all transitions and times that are very difficult for our students. And it wound up being an immense benefit to the student that was coming from the ABA Center. I mean, he slept with the book, he carried it with him wherever he went, and when he came, he was able to understand and know what to expect. And then even after that, we can take the QR codes and put them throughout the building so that the students can click. So when they're going to the cafeteria, they can click on the cafeteria before they go to see, okay, remind me, what is it that I'm supposed to do and how does this work? And so we're working on having these for all of our buildings so we can use it with all students coming in.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you. Great idea. Girls on the Run.
Sure, I'd like to introduce Jennifer George and Jennifer Meehan. Jennifer's a counselor at Custer Baker Intermediate School, and Jennifer Meehan is a parent volunteer, and they are working to bring a really cool program to our 5th and 6th grade girls for next year. Yeah, it should be attached. Here, I'll do it.
I'll go ahead and pass out these flyers. Again, I'm Jennifer George. I am the counselor, one of the counselors at Custer Baker Intermediate School. And Jennifer Mann and I have been working since October to
to bring a program called Girls on the Run to Johnson County and Franklin Community Schools.
Do I need to refresh it, Natalie? Oh, here. Thank you, smart
Nope.
teenager.
That's just,
Oh, that's one.
I don't see it as attachment.
Thank you. So Girls on the Run is actually an international nonprofit organization that has served over 1 million girls since it began in 1993. Girls on the Run is an international program, but there are local councils at the county level. And so we are working on bringing a council to Johnson County. There are already councils in Bartholomew, Hancock, Hamilton, Tippecanoe, and Clinton counties. So this is Girls on the Run. It is an after-school program that meets twice a week in teams of 8 to 15 girls for 12 weeks. So you meet 24 times. The mission of Girls on the Run is to inspire girls to be joyful, healthy, and confident using a fun, experience-based curriculum, which creatively integrates running. So that's how it's different from being on the track team or running cross country. Each practice has a lesson and teaches a skill. The 24 lesson set is broken into 3 parts. So the first day lessons are all about the girls understanding themselves and what's unique about themselves. The second 8 lessons is all about conflict management, how they work in a group, relationships, and teamwork. And the last 8 lessons focus on understanding how you shape the world and being a part of your community and how you can positively impact your community. And then, so Girls on the Run runs in a season, and a season is a semester long, 12 weeks. And then each season, the girls complete a community service project that they come up with and plan by themselves with the help of their coach. And then they also run a 5K as a group at the end of each season. There is a registration fee for girls to apply and to do the program. And it's going to be based on a sliding scale, so any student can participate, and we will provide scholarships to girls as well who wouldn't be able to pay for it. We've been working to raise $7,500 that we have to pay to Girls on the Run International, and that pays for our license to be a county council, and it pays for the curriculum. We have a fund set up through the Johnson County Foundation, Johnson County Community Foundation, and they're accepting tax-deductible donations on our behalf. We applied March 1st, so we have to apply to the international organization to be able to run a council in our county. We applied March 1st, and we should hear back April 1st around then if we are accepted. Our first season is hopefully going to be August 2015 at Custer Baker. And then our second season, we would like to expand to the middle school and some of the elementary schools. And then our strategic plan is to expand through the other 5 school districts in Johnson County over 5 years. So it will saturate Johnson County hopefully within 5 years, if not 5 years, then we can go a little further. And then we have a little short video to show you a little bit more about what Girls on the Run is, if that's okay. This is their like their advertising video, I guess, not really advertising they use. How do I do sound? Does it have sound?
Turn the speakers on right there. Right.
Oh, right here.
I used to be a participant in Girls on the Run, and now out of college, I'm coaching, and I just love it. Girls on the Run is really important for girls. I think it helps them with building their confidence and building positive self-image and positive ways to deal with situations.
We as the coaches
are the leaders that the girls follow. And then once we step out of the way, that gives them the opportunity to then become those leaders.
Being a coach for Girls on the Run, I get to influence young women's lives every year, every day, and impact the rest of their lives and what kind of women they're going to turn out to be.
I didn't realize how much of a well-being, emotional side of it that they were teaching girls. We're learning so many different ways to open up conversations with our daughters, and it's so neat because she wants to have these mom chat sessions at night now. And so, before bed, we just continue that talk, and it's been so wonderful for our bond and our relationship.
Girls on the Run is a bonding experience for my girls.
Girls on the Run makes me feel good and makes me feel like I can express myself. I have learned how to deal with bullies and not to gossip and spread rumors. It helps you build the confidence in yourself. The coaches are right behind you saying, come on, you can do it. Girls on the Run makes me feel warm and good on the inside.
I love that you get a group of girls coming in from the very beginning that are so diverse, and by the end of the season, those girls are a complete team.
One of the main reasons I got involved was seeing how the impact it had on my wife, who had been coaching. I think being sort of kind of a male model there for the girls sort of gives a different perspective on things.
But we really believe in this program. I know Jennifer and I are both from Franklin. We went to these schools, and so when we heard about this opportunity to positively impact young girls, we were really excited about it, and we worked really hard to bring it here.
When do you have to have the money raised? What's the date?
Half of it is due April 1st. Well, April 1st to mid-April, and then the rest of it won't be due until November.
You still have the online donation site. And what is that site?
Oh, the GoFundMe. No,
Yeah,
we moved to the Johnson County Community Foundation, so that's where
You can donate online through them, or you can send them a check asking that the money be allocated to the Girls on the Run Fund. I don't think we're on the drop-down menu yet, so in the comments section, you just put that you want to donate to the Girls on the Run Fund.
First of all, I think it's what information you shared is great. I'm fully supportive, and if there's anything I can do, I understand I may not be the best gender appropriate person, but from an administration perspective, if there's anything I can do to lend my support from an administration, I'd love to help. I think it sounds like a great program that a lot of kids get involved.
Where are you in your funding?
I'm sorry.
How much have you raised so far?
Well, we are over halfway there.
Well, congratulations.
Yep.
So you have enough money to send to the first installment.
Yep.
Great.
So, yep, plenty of time till November.
Thank you very
It'll be
much.
good.
Sounds like a great program.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Mercer and the peer group analysis.
I'm actually going to ask Danny Olson to come up here and join me if he would. Danny joined me latter part of the fall and is currently a junior at the college here in Franklin. And Danny's actually done internships twice before coming to Franklin to help me on his winter term. They were in Honolulu and New York City. So I don't know how the business office in Franklin compared, but probably not near as riveting. However, we did have an interesting topic, and Danny was instrumental in helping us really move through what needed to be done, which was a peer assessment. You may recall about 6 years ago, I did this, and I did it to the best of my ability. Selected a number of variables that we would use to compare school districts, and probably had 5 or 6 variables: total enrollment, general fund budget, free and reduced population, and a litany of items. And this time really felt like we needed to go to the next level. So as we often do, put together a problem statement worksheet, and I'm sure if you haven't looked at it, you probably are now. I'll just highlight what we were after as an end goal for this project, and that was to establish a fixed grouping of key command variables, complete with requisite financial impact weighting, and conduct a thorough assessment of upper and lower control limits, resulting in a 10-member peer comparison group to be completed on or before January 31st, which was the end of Danny's winter term, and actually we hit that target, which was terrific. This one we did just a little bit differently. Oftentimes board members see this tool that we use periodically. This is an AHP, initially introduced to us by Darren, and we use it a lot now, and we used it in this case. You'll notice the 12 variables that we compared, and the objective, as you'll see down at the bottom, was to compare each item as it relates to the magnitude of impact on total available general fund dollars. And so as you begin to think about all the things that impact resources or that create challenges for a school corporation, we've selected 12 variables that we believe has done that as closely as we can get it. I spent a lot of time with Dr. Clendenning, with Matt Sprout, going through these. We probably had 17 or 18 on the table at one time and narrowed down to the 12 that we have. And the objective here with this tool was to weight each of these variables. And I'm going to come back to this in just a moment as you begin to see what we worked through. And so one of the things that Danny did, and he spent countless hours doing along with Jennifer Ponsler in our office, myself as well, is we collected data from 289 school districts in the state of Indiana, all public schools, on each of those 12 variable areas. And what we were able to do, and this really came through Danny and some of the professors at the college, was that we began to set absolute values. So Franklin was calibrated at 0, and what we wanted to know is all the school districts in Indiana that were the closest to us. And so if it was total enrollment, we wanted to know who was closest to us. We were after the 20 schools closest, whether they were above or below did not matter. And so we did that across all 12 variable areas. So you take a look here at enrollment, and you'll see the school city of East Chicago was actually the closest district to us in total enrollment. I will tell you, it took a number of sources for us to come up with all this information. We were all over the DOE site, Gateway, Department of Local Government Finance, wherever we had to go to get this data, we got it. We got the most accurate and current data that we could possibly get. And so we were working with the best that we could find. After we identified those school corporations that were closest to us, we assigned a value to each one of them. So the school corporation closest to us was assigned a value of 20. All the way down to the school corporation 20 places away, we gave them a value of 1. And so as you look at the difference in rainy day dollars, you'll see that Mitchell Community Schools was actually the closest, and so they were accorded a value of 20. Then collected by school, over 100, well, actually there was 133 schools that scored, and we collected all the raw scores from each of the schools. This is where I part company with what we did the last time, because we took raw data, set them out on a table, compared them, and tried to determine who looks most like us in resources and challenges. And I realized after spending a lot of time with Danny, and it was kind of an epiphany, that really this isn't the most accurate data that we can have. And in reality, every school corporation in the state of Indiana will be slightly different, because what we did is we evaluated each of our variable areas utilizing our weight structure. And so after we scored each of the school corporations to get a raw score, we then went back and weighted every variable based on what we believe to be the most important. As an example, you'll find that on the AHP, ethnicity was the least valuable to us from a resource challenge perspective because we don't have a great deal of that. On the other hand, total general fund budget was the most highly valued weighted item because we have more dollars there than we have anywhere else. And so one of the items on the AHP that made this a little easier for me was there was an actual numerical representation for every one of these items. So I knew what the dollar amount was or could closely approximate the dollar amount on each of these. Many times on an AHP, it's very subjective and it is opinion oriented. In this case, it was not. So we collected all the raw scores from each of the schools and then we weighted. I went back to the AHP and grabbed the weights, and we then multiplied that out over the 133 schools, and that gave us a weighted score. And from that weighted score, you are looking at the 10 school corporations in the state of Indiana that in our analysis look the most like us relative to resources and challenges. Concord is the school that looks most like Franklin, all the way down to the 10th school, Jennings County. I will tell you that 6 of the 10 schools we had last time were rated in the top 20 this time, And so we were fairly close the last time. From this list, Concord, Plainfield, School City of Mishawaka were all on our list from the first time. Clark Pleasant has dropped to 20th. They're no longer in our top 10. They looked almost identical to us 6 years ago. Now they're 1,000 more in enrollment. Their general fund is a lot more. And so in conversation with Dr. Clendenning, we decided we would leave the 10 schools as peer schools and also include 3 benchmark schools, which are Clark Pleasant, Center Grove, and Greenwood. Although they don't look altogether like us, they are people that are compared to us relatively frequently, whether it has to do with wage, benefits, working environment, whatever it might be. Greenwood didn't score at all. Center Grove scored 1 point and was ranked 131st. Clark Pleasant was 20th. And so we took the peer analysis and really moved it into a data analysis mode and felt very good about where we ended up. Okay, so what do we do with this? Well, one of the things, once you determine who your peer and benchmark schools are, you can begin to compare and contrast in a litany of ways. We've obviously done that financially. And so as we try to calibrate what our folks make for the certified staff or non-certified staff, we want to look and see where they're at. It gives us some benchmarking so that we kind of have an idea of where we need to be and the range in which we need to be. We could do this academically. We could compare and contrast in a litany of ways. But this is the series of schools that we have that hopefully we'll move forward with from this point forward. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have. I will tell you, Beech Grove, Concord, Clark Pleasant, and Greenwood have all asked for this analysis to be done for them. We wouldn't have a waiting for them, but we certainly have the data. Once you collect it, you've got it. So a number of schools have begun to kind of take a look at the method and determine if that's something that would be of value to them too. So hopefully, we're happy to help them. Dan or I, either one, would be happy to answer your question.
Thank you so much. This is a process that is embedded in me just based on the profession that I do. So thank you so much because it drives, we can make informed decisions versus, so I appreciate, and I know that's taken a ton of work. So thank you, Mr. Mercer and Danny. Thank you. I know it was a ton of work and I feel good about the decisions that we can make from that data. Question I have for you, Danny, is what did you learn and what surprised you as you're going through this?
Well, when I first got the email from Kirk Bixler over at Career Services from Franklin College, it was something I've ever really been interested in was the community schools. I really didn't think much of it. Like I just thought people went to school, they learned and kind of went home and didn't really know what all actually went into a school, let alone like the Franklin Community School Corporation. So what kind of opened my eye was just actually when we first sat down, and he said, we're going to narrow it down to 289 school districts to 10. I didn't even know there were 289 school districts. So I think it just, my Excel skills really grew in this project and just overall what actually goes into a school corporation, just all the variables was just mind blowing.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Jeff, in terms of the top 3 or 4 subjects that you want to use to compare with these 10, have you narrowed those down in terms of these are the things that we want to leverage this comparison to?
In terms of areas that we will use for comparison purposes, I think it's important in the position that I sit. This really begins to track back to a presentation that we're going to have in just a little while on Franklin Extended Education. But so many of the initiatives and the projects that we've worked on have been driven about attracting and retaining quality personnel. And I think it's imperative that you have a sense for where you should be financially. We clearly have some extraordinary challenges with circuit breaker, but the fact of the matter is people that work here really don't care about that. They just want to be compensated fairly. And I think that's a fair assessment. So what is compensated fairly? If we're going to compare ourselves to IPS Evansville, Fort Wayne, Hamilton Southeastern, and Zionsville, we're probably going to be sorely disappointed. They don't really look like us. They're not funded the same way. They don't have the same amount of money flowing in per student that we do. So who's that group in the state of Indiana that looks like us in terms of what they are receiving in terms of revenue and resource, taking into consideration circuit breaker loss and things of that nature? And so when you consider that, we can then begin to take a look at ranges for where we believe we should be. And it gives us a good springboard to conversations with the teacher association or with our support staff areas for where we believe we might fit. And so that's number one. It also helps with the benefit comparison. Where are folks relative to the amount of dollars that they're expending for benefits, that we're expending for benefits? These are folks that are resourced like us. What are they spending? What are they paying? And so it's those two areas immediately. I do think there's a great opportunity for us to begin compare financials with academic performance. That would be the next one that I'd really like to think we might want to go to. So, all right, we're resourced similarly. How are they performing academically on a series of metrics that we might look at based on weights in the metric area that we have an interest in academically? That would be the next one that I think would be really interesting to see. So if we're being resourced similarly and we finish third out of 14, terrific. If we're 11th or 12th, then we probably need to look and see what they're doing, maybe that we're not. So it may give more questions than answers, but it certainly gives you some information from which to begin asking those questions.
Perfect.
And again, on behalf of Franklin Schools, thanks so much to Danny and all the hours that he spent, his expertise. It was really fun to spend the month with him kind of strategizing. The last slide I won't go through, but this is where we rank in each of those 12 categories across the state of Indiana. And there's some interesting items that I'm sure you'll take a look at or have taken a look at. So thank you very much.
Mr. Mercer, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Are these documents going to be available through the school webpage?
Absolutely.
How does someone get a chance to look at, obviously this is not the right format of the platform, so how does that happen? How does that occur?
Are you talking this PowerPoint or the other?
Well, the PowerPoint, just your representation of your study, your parameters and things, just what you've done with your PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm happy to share anything that we have. The spreadsheet that has this on it, there's over 3,000 numbers or numerical representations. I'm happy to share that as well. So whatever you need, Glenn, I'd be happy to get to you or anybody else.
And this is also on our website right now. You just go to our website and click on the PowerPoint and it comes up and it stays active throughout the year. So it is there
And
just for
I'm
that
happy to
specific.
spend whatever time to explain the AHP especially. That's the key to this thing. You can get the raw data, anybody can get the raw data, but it's doing something with it. That's always a challenge. So I'm happy to spend any time with anybody.
Thanks, Mr. Richard.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
All right, that brings us to the iStep update.
Just quickly, this is the time of year we normally would share middle of year benchmark data with you as it relates to iStep, but as we've been talking all year long, we really have no benchmark data that relates to iStep this year. So really the data sheets there just show the growth from beginning of year to middle of year that teachers are using every day in the classroom. We had our first round of iStep last week. It went very well in all of the buildings. We're doing makeups now, and we'll be ready to ship the test booklets back soon. We had a handful of parents who did not want their students to take iStep for a lot of different philosophical reasons, maybe 4 or 5 throughout the district. Unfortunately, those do count as failures for that school. If their student does not take it, Indiana does not recognize an opt-out or waiver program for iStep. But we felt like we needed to honor, obviously, a parent's wishes if that was something they felt very, very strongly about. So we start iRead 3 next week with 3rd graders, and then we'll have the second round of iStep coming when we get back from spring break.
Comment question. So I think it goes without stating that at least at the State House level and those who are directing traffic for this, that iStep left a lot to be desired this year. Maybe that's a gross understatement. I'm not sure. I think my question is, in terms of levels of influence, what Dr. Clendenning do you perceive as our role in terms of influencing significant change with regard to this topic, because obviously we're asking a bunch of kids who are being tested differently each year.
Yeah.
And so we're taking a whole lot of curriculum time out of the picture for something that continues to evolve and change. And
I think the best thing would be contact either Representative Price or Senator Walker. There's a bill right now, 566, that would actually change ISTEP to go back to an NWA-like test. They're calling it the BEST test. There's an acronym for that. That'd be the first thing I think we could do. Part of it has to do with also the federal mandates that's required for the No Child Left Behind. As far as what we're going to continue to do is share information about how to reach out. I know I presented at Union when they talked to their 3rd and 4th grade parents and encourage the same thing. And I just think a few people reaching out would be the best thing to do. The ISTEP's going to be here. It's going to be, we want to be held accountable. It's how we're going to be held accountable. But I do think there's a way to minimize that and provide opportunities for kids to show what they know and then allow us to get on to teaching to make a difference.
All right. Utilities. Here comes our utility guy.
Thank you, Mr. Mashmeyer. Appreciate it. Be real quick tonight, if I could. Just talk a little bit about our conservation program, energy conservation. There we go. We're in year 2 of our rejuvenated program. This was an energy conservation program that started back in 2003. Went lax for a little bit, and now we've rejuvenated it. So just wanted to share a little bit of the data, which you can obviously scroll through the slides as well. But just first of all, want to thank everybody on staff, faculty and staff members for working hard again at this year. We hit our goal. If you can remember back last year through the general fund reduction committee, we thought, can we really save 10%, a true savings of 10%? So we set out, have our 2 energy auditors and set the guidelines back in motion, go out into building audits, and then track the energy data. And I'm happy to report, which you'll see here in a little bit, that we hit our goal again, actually kind of shot it out of the water again. Not quite as good as 2013, but I think there's a few reasons for that, and I'll share that. So that's how we're making it work. And then again, just to reiterate the objectives of this, it's basically a nothing more, nothing less program. Eliminate energy waste. We want to maintain the comfort for our staff and our students and acceptable indoor air quality. And so far, we're meeting those objectives. Just get right to the numbers. 2012, there's our baseline for our savings. I'm going to change the baseline a little bit at the end of the slides and talk about cost avoidance. But for this comparison, our baseline is 2012. And there you see our total cost for utilities. For the ones I'm tracking, we're talking about electricity, natural gas, water, and sewer. And there you can see our 2013 cost. Our savings was $230,000, and there's our 2014 savings. So we really, everybody, again, did a great job with the savings, because you can see here in a little bit, our use is down, our kilowatt hours are down, our natural gas is down, something like that. So that plays a part in it.
So Bill, is this data, is this raw dollar data?
This is raw dollar data.
So it's not normalized based on weather patterns or usage?
Correct. And that slide will be at the very end. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about, cost avoidance with that.
So your cost avoidance is based on actual usage?
This is savings.
No, when you get to cost avoidance.
Yes. So there's our raw savings, okay? And then just some monthly comparisons just to give you some insight in what we're doing. And I'd be happy to share any kind of reports that you want. I have monthly utility data for all 4 of those utilities, those services all the way back to 2002.
I gotta be honest, I've never been so excited about utility bills ever.
If you want to come to the
That's
office
awesome.
and look at raw data, it's great. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll order some lunch in. So 2014, you can see it's really tracking along the same lines as 2013. 2012, we really made hay in the spring and summer months. That's when we experience most of our savings. Weather, obviously, in the winter months, is you still got to have heat, right? And there's not much you can do with that other than lower the set points. You can only lower those so far, and we're trying to capture those. And you're at the mercy of, when you get those really hard, cold winter days. And if you remember back 2014, and I wish I was able to run a report and overlay the weather pattern to our cost and our use. But what you could see here, and trust me, and I can get you the data, but 2014, if you remember back, January, February, March was extremely cold. And we're probably going to get a March next year when we see this data for 2015 will probably reflect a really cold March. So there you see the increase in cost for 2014 in February and March over and above what we had. That's reflective of some weather patterns. But again, this is just strictly raw data. 2012, this is just all of our sites, all of our buildings, just their use profile for the year. This is kind of neat to look at. You can really see, okay, can we do anything in certain months to affect, is there anything happening in our buildings that can affect our usage? And there you see something that happened in May. There's a blip on the radar screen there for May at the high school. What happened at the high school for our usage to go up? On the left-hand side, that's not dollars. That's actually BTU hours. So that's energy. That's how we're looking at energy. So something happened there in May. I went back and looked. Actually, there were some heating degree days required for May that we have never had before. It's pretty interesting. And then I would also say, when you look at events in the building, this size, and I think we all know what happens at the PAC down here. A lot of events going on in May, a lot of events going on at the athletic areas outside and inside of May. And then maybe we just weren't as good in May for shutting things off. So we got it back under control, and we're sticking there. This is last slide, cost avoidance. This is where you normalize that data, or my software does that for us. And it basically says, and just quickly on the baseline, I changed the baseline for this because I think it's important for us to look at when we talk about cost avoidance, going back to 2008, 2009, because that's when we changed, that's when we opened the middle school back up after renovation, and we are in our current configuration facility-wise, right? And so this is showing if we operated our buildings and used our buildings just as we did in 2008 when we first opened the middle school. If we did the same thing this year, that's what we could have expected to pay based on rates, based on weather, and those things. So our cost avoidance is actually $297,000. So that's very good savings, 14.5%.
So that 2 million takes into account renormalizing for weather pattern and utility rates.
Right.
So this is all based upon usage, which demonstrates behaviors.
Right.
$300,000.
Yes, sir.
Not too bad. Can you get us 4 next year?
We're going to keep plugging away, but I can't promise anything.
Well done.
Nice work.
Well done
So-
to everyone, and
so-
our building auditors.
So we pay how much for building auditors to do their magic?
Their stipend is a little over $5,000.
Total?
If we have to.
So we spend $10,000 to do an audit, which is a behavioral based audit, to save $300,000.
Yeah, and my software costs $1,200 a year for the license. So add that to it.
So our investment here is $1,200.
12,000. Yeah.
$12,000 bucks for $300,000.
And a lot of hard work on everybody's behalf.
That's not a bad ROI, you know.
Pretty good.
In fact, that's pretty darn good.
We're pleased with it. Yeah. Any other questions? Be happy to answer. We have to show you any data that you, if you want to know something, if you want to know what the weather was back in 2006, I'd be happy to share that with you. All right, thank you.
Does this information get back to the individual schools in any way other than this?
Yeah, this is our main voice, if you will, for the year that I'm here in March. It takes a little while to get this information, but I try to share some things on a monthly basis with people. I honestly have not done a very good job here in the last few months of getting that information to the principals, but anytime someone wants to know what's going on, I've shared some energy articles in the newsletter that we write. I've shared some in there as well. Yeah. Last year, and we're going to do it again this year, we had a contest. I don't know if the board was privy to that, but we had a contest to see who could perform the best with building audits. And I think the Union won that, and who else? No, Custer Baker won that contest. And so that was another way to help share in a good message and kind of pay them back, if you will, for the hard work. We gave them a free lunch. It's not $200,000 worth of free lunch, but you know it's a goodwill gesture. So we're going to do that again this spring too.
That's great performance.
All right, very good.
All right, Jeff. I'm going to go back.
Yeah, X out.
Right there?
Nope, up. Yep.
There we go.
Bill and I are going to share this presentation. Actually, Bill's segue is a good one for us. We've probably, well, not probably, we have had to have been more entrepreneurial here in Franklin than most other school districts for a litany of reasons, not the least of which is circuit breaker loss. And there's not one answer to managing through this when we're scripted to lose $3.2 million this year. Greenwood conversely loses $30,000. And so you've got to figure out ways to help us manage through this and still have a pool of money at the end of the day to compensate people adequately. And so what Bill just shared is a piece of that puzzle. And what I'm about to share in concert with Bill is also a piece of the puzzle. This is actually an outcropping of our general fund optimization project, which was the project that I worked on through my training with Cummins. And you may recall the general fund optimization, the objective was to reduce reallocated revenue, generate $1 million without impacting student education or involvement. We've actually been in this process since we began the reductions many years ago. The Performing Arts Center and Doug Corliss and the dollars that he raises is a piece of that puzzle. Franklin Academy is a piece of that puzzle. This is a piece of that puzzle. And so this originated through the general fund optimization. We weren't able to do anything with it at that moment in time, but we've doubled back over the last year and began to do some work. And here's the objective. By August 2015, Franklin Extended Education shall be introduced into Franklin Community Schools for the express purpose of generating additional revenue while pursuing individual academic growth for each participant. A couple things we're going to share tonight. Number one, we're going to share the programs that are housed in Franklin Extended Education. Talk a little bit about the extended governance that will be required. Provide a brief snapshot into each program, share a little bit about attendance, a little bit about financial, review the many tasks required for implementation, and discuss all the ancillary items involved with beginning a new business, and that's what we're doing. We're being entrepreneurial. We're starting 3 brand new businesses from scratch. This is a lineup of folks that are working with us and have been working with us for some time. Katie Kreitz, as you probably know, has coordinated the preschool. Katie's worked tirelessly to see that that happens, and she will be in charge of Cub Academy, which is the preschool piece that will begin operation in August. Cub Care, under the guidance of Sandra Brown in concert with Bill Doty, have begun to take over what was formerly the ACE program, which is the before and after school care. And then finally, the Cub Enrichment, which will be a little slower to get going. We don't have a coordinator in place yet, and there'll be a committee that will work on that. We've purposely pushed that back That is required from ground zero. The other two were a little faster to move. We looked actually in the central office at about 5 different governance structures, narrowed to about 3, and I wanted to share with you where we're at this moment, we believe. Option number 1 involved hiring a program director, and there may be a day when we wish to do that. They would have an administrative assistant, and then they'd have 3 coordinators, one for Cub Academy, one for Cub Care, and one for Cub Enrichment. We didn't go with that option. Obviously, it's going to be more costly. The revenue wouldn't support that at this point. So the second one was to place an assistant superintendent and a program oversight, which clearly that individual could have done the academic piece of that without question, and they would be overseeing the 3 coordinators for each of the programs. We didn't go with that. What we chose to move forward on was option 3, which was a shared program oversight in the central office, and that allows me to work with the programs financially, Mr. Doty to work with the programs from a facilities and operations perspective, Dr. Clendenning, and the assistant superintendents to work from an academic perspective with the coordinators in place so that they would have daily oversight, but they'd have some resources at the central office to tap into some, hopefully would be some knowledge in different areas and thoughts. This is an option for proposed governance. This is really taking a look at our directors of curriculum, myself, Bill Doty at operations, Matt Sprout in technology, and of course the superintendent at the top, and the folks that are dropping beneath them. And this is a little bit of a shift. You'll notice that underneath mine, the HR coordinator and HR assistant are dropping down in their half-time just for the business function alone. There will be a treasurer required for Franklin Extended Education. You see them in a blue box. There has been conversation about maybe an additional instructional coach being needed. We'll kind of see where that one goes. So that's the governance structure at this point. There's a bit of a lineup. I just want to give you a snippet of kind of where we're at on each of these. Bill will take the Cub Care in just a moment. But again, Cub Academy, the program coordinator is Katie Kreitz. As we stand here tonight, our enrollment for the fall in the preschool stands at 32 full-day students, 6 half-day. Our financials were actually built around 60 full-day and 20 half-day. If we don't hit those targets, we'll ratchet back the programs that we are offering. But right now, we'll continue on. Hopefully, we'll have enrollment that'll get us there by August. We're 28 full-day students short at the moment, 14 half-day. Right now, we have Northwood, Webb, and Creekside as locations. It will require 11 and a half new employees. That'll be some certified or some teaching positions and some classroom assistants. And the start date will be August the 6th. Bill will take the cuts here.
Thanks, Jeff. As you can see, program coordinator is Sandra Brown, and she's really been doing most of the work from a task-oriented, such as writing job descriptions for our employees and things like that. And then she'll be working with programming. Sandra, if there's anything you want to add to this from a programming standpoint, you know, I'll be dealing kind of liaison between, like as Jeff said, facilities and things, but more so on helping with HR, bringing those new employees on, making sure that they understand our evaluation process and things like that. But as Sandra gets rolling on this, our current enrollment is 231 students, and that'll be important here in a second as we talk about our control plan. Jeff's built the financials around 243 students. We think we're going to get that increase based on a survey that we did with parents. We're going to open up, as you can see, the locations. Obviously, they're all at all the elementary schools, but Custer Baker is not currently a site for ACE. We're going to open it up as a site for Cub Care, and that's based on some survey results that we saw. There are about 10 students from Custer Baker that do go to, is it Creekside or Northwood, or a little bit of both. So we think we'll get more students in the program if Custer Baker is a site. Projected number of employees, 18. There are 22 ACE employees currently, and actually it's worked out. 4 of those have just decided that they're going to be moving on. They had a place with us if they wanted it. They chose not to. It actually works out that our numbers, if we go to a 1:15 to 1:20 ratio, student to leader ratio, Cub Care worker ratio, we need 18 employees based on our enrollment. And so that's where we sit.
Is that new employees or that?
Those are current ACE employees, bringing them over under school operation.
So it's not a net add of 18.
Correct. And obviously the start date for that is August 6th. And we have set benchmarks out there to get these employees brought on. We have an orientation scheduled for June for these employees. We just met with 3 actually tonight that are also school employees in the essential skills classroom assistants. So, Sandra, did I leave anything out? Okay. Going. Yeah. Our first chance to sign up for Cup Care will be when kindergarten registration on April 7th. Is that right? Yeah. Going back to the 231 students, part of our control plan that's really Sandra and my next step is to work on that control plan is how do we make sure that those 231 students that are enrolled actually participate? Because right now, if you don't come to Cup Care, even though you're enrolled, you don't come to Cup Care, you don't pay, right? And so we want to see that all 231 students participate after they have enrolled. So that's our challenge, put a control plan in place to ensure that. So Jeff, I'll turn it back over to you.
I might mention too, that the cost of the program for the first year will remain the same as it was last year. And so that won't change for year 1. Hopefully we'll be able to keep that consistent. The other area that we'll be moving into at some point in time, right now we're targeting January 1 of 2016, is to really begin to bring a cadre of enrichment classes for the express purpose of growing students in a litany of areas, but also providing our staff with the opportunity to teach and coach and make some additional dollars using their talents outside of the school day. I've listed just some items. We've kind of patterned this particular program after Zionsville. These are classes that they offer. They have a whole host of classes that they offer throughout the entire year. There's an opportunity for us to do some of that. We projected in 15, 16, 200 enrollees. That could be 10 in Zumba and 20 in swim class and 40 in volleyball, any configuration. We don't have a person in charge of that at this point. We've got a little bit of time, but it'll be upon us before we know it. Here's the secondary impact that I at least wanted to mention tonight and some of the steps that we're taking. You know, there is a considerable additional workload in taking over these programs. And although, as Darren mentioned, it's 18, it's not a net 18 employees. ACE had 22 employees. It's a net 18 to us in terms of administering all the things that have to happen, HR tasks, employee management, onboarding, right on down the line, payroll, purchasing, receivables, collections. There's a lot of work to be done. So as a result, a couple things have kind of converged, and right now we're in the middle of a project with human resources and the business office, which is why we've brought the HR group in to us half-time as we begin to restructure so that we're prepared to handle this. And here's the objective. We intend to increase workload efficiencies between and within human resources and business office by identifying both critical inter-office workflows and the new software system, and then implementing a 3-year plan designed to accelerate our delivery of efficient work processes evidenced by newly identified success metrics. CompuTrol is moving away from the old DOS-based system into the Windows-based system. We are going to be forced to move software regardless. CompuTrol has indicated that will come at a cost of beyond $75,000. And as a result, we're going to take a look at every single software system known to mankind that might fit. And we've already conducted an AHP, and we'll have the rubric set. We'll send out an RFP, and we'll begin work on software. We may stay with CompuTrol, but there's no guarantee that we would do that. So both of those factors converge. This is our project tracker. There are a lot of items to be done between now and the time that we kick it off. There's a lot of detail work behind this. This is merely a one-page snapshot of some of the things that we have to track, and this is the way that we track. We have a series of reporting documents internally that have all the intricacies and the details. And many thanks to Bill and Katie and Sandra and all the ladies in the business office and HR who have worked so hard on this. This is like taking on 3 brand new businesses and running them all at the same time. And we consider each one to be a $250,000 a year business, both 2 of them initially, but then a third, maybe even beyond that. It's a serious undertaking, and very few school corporations honestly do that. We did look at a 501c3 configuration. Doing this completely outside, we decided to stay with the school corporation. There were just a lot of complexities on the 501c3 side of life, And we left it with the school corporation, so that required a number of additional things to be done within our business office. Happy to answer any questions you might have over any part of this presentation of programs.
One question I have is on page 7, where you talked about enrollment at 32 full-day students, but the financials were built around 60 full-day students. Has there been some talk about what the expectation was at this point versus what we're getting? Are we on track? Are we not on track?
I really
and how
think
are we
we
going
are.
to scale back?
I think it's very early.
Okay.
Katie ran the registrations right after the first of the year. She had a lot of initial interest. She's worked very hard to gather as many people into that as we can. I think you'll begin to see, and it's not altogether different than kindergarten registration. You know, we're going to get the kindergarten registration. We're going to get 300 kids to sign up. And you know and I know that there'll be another 75, anywhere from 50 to 100 that will sign up later. And I think that'll happen here. We need 55 to break even. That's where we're at. And so what we would like to do is we'd like to keep those locations at Northwood, Webb, and Creekside. The primary objective here, we want to generate some dollars, but the reality is there's going to be some growing pains, and you got to start somewhere before you can build that up. And so as long as we can get to break even and keep programs in buildings year one, that would be a success for us.
I think one of the things on that, Mr. Wertz, is that where we have 3 preschools right now, we would see a consolidation. Either 1 or 2 of the schools would not have preschool. We would go to a centralized location. I know Katie has the data on that as she's tracking parents' preference. So that would be one way that we would do some cost avoidance if we do not make this 60.
Yeah, I mean, it is, to your point, I mean, it is a very long ways away. A lot of people aren't thinking about, right? And so
on
to
that,
some extent, I'm kind of surprised there were 32, but I didn't know if that was.
We do have registration April the 13th coming up again at Northwood Elementary. For this again, we'll remind everybody at the end of today's meeting, but that's another place to share with parents if you want to come and register April 13th at Northwood.
Katie's really done a great job. The subcommittee's been working for months and months in concert with a variety of teachers and assistants and people that know a lot more about preschool than I do, and they've done a terrific job getting us prepped and moving in this direction.
Absolutely. I do have a question on the enrichment. You said enrichment for kids. You've got adult volleyball. Is that more encompassing than just kids? Do you envision that as being both adult and kid enrichment? Is that where we're headed with that?
Absolutely. Zionsville really does a robust, they do robust work in the adult sector, from day trips to any number of things going on. And they capture all of it. They actually drop athletics into their enrichment. So in effect, for the stakeholder groups, anybody would be interested in signing up, it's a one-stop shop. You go to one place and you find out everything that's going on in that school corporation at any given moment in time. I don't know that we'll go that way, but I do see that the possibility exists for both really students right on up through the adult sector participating.
So this one has an additional layer of entrepreneurship that has to be added, that in terms of marketing and finding value-added classes that are
absolutely
going to be value-added to folks.
Yeah, if I could, our committee right now, Mr. Walsh is on it. We have some other teachers, and we're actually coming back at our next meeting on the 22nd. We're preparing some questions for teachers, for our stakeholders in this group, teachers, students, parents. We think we can match up. It's enrichment, right? So it's over and above what they would get in a normal school day. So, and plus we want to try and make it a fun atmosphere as well. So we want to match up teacher interests and student interests and determine what that value is to the parent. So that's where we're working. That's where the committee's at right now in the work. Those are the conversations that are going on in the committee.
So let me just, as an example, if one of the high school Spanish teachers wants to give a Spanish class to grade school kids, or a high school or a music teacher wants to give adult piano lessons.
Absolutely. I had the opportunity when I was at Franklin College to start the Kids on Campus program. By year 2, we had over 300 participants. And I think this program possesses some of those same skill sets. Many, if not most, of the instructors that we used at Franklin College were Franklin Community School Corporation teachers. Did a great job. and really grew the program rapidly. This has all kinds of possibilities if we do it well, and I think we will. Thank you.
I would also say this strikes also back to our strategic plan where we talk about individual student growth and providing a wide variety of experiences. This entire Cove Academy really meets that. When you look from preschool, bringing kids into kindergarten, also providing after school and then enrichment opportunities. So it's a good opportunity for us.
All right, good. Well, that brings us into the action items, and Mr. Sprout.
Mr. Sprout is ill today. I'm going to take this one. And actually, we're going to ask this to be tabled. Mr. Sprout's been in conversation, and we are looking at tabling this to give Mr. Young an opportunity to go through the document. If you recall, last month, he asked for this to be placed on. We did open up, had RFP. CDW won the bid using the appropriate process in AHP. But Mr. Young wants to go through it, and then we'll come back in the near future to revise this off the table.
Okay. Mr. Mercer didn't get
We
a
need
very
an action
long
item.
break.
I need you to make action to table. Is that correct, Mr. Young?
Do we need?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, then I'd entertain a motion to table the RFP.
Move to table the RFP.
It's been moved to table. Any comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Mr. Mercer on the emergency allocation.
Periodically, I come before the board and request the approval of dollars out of capital projects from our emergency fund. They are budgeted annually. We try not to use them if we don't have to, but occasionally we have to for something that was really unforeseen. And I'm going to rely on Bill just a little bit. We had an issue with our server room here at the high school and a generator issue that required some significant electrical work that we did not anticipate. Bill, can you help me from there?
Yes, and I'm going to admit that I had made a mistake. We did not put the IT servers on generator backup when we first moved them up here. We thought we did. Davis Electric and I both looked at the drawings. We saw the riser diagram. We went to the panel. We looked at it. We said, "Yep, that panel is on the generator. It's backed up by the generator." And we had an incident here where we lost power, and we realized we were wrong. So to do that work properly this time is reflected in that cost to get the generator. Circuits ran basically halfway across the building, all the way down. It was a lot more intensive than what we originally thought, and what we had paid for in the initial outlay of the project. So that's where we are.
We budget annually $150,000 in the emergency allocation fund, and I'm asking approval tonight for us to use 50. It's 49,000 and some odd dollars, just to give us a little bit of wiggle room. If we don't need to use it, we won't use it. But I'm asking your permission to spend the 50,000 for the electrical.
So moved. It's been moved. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, Neola.
Neola policy. This is a second reading on several of the policies, and we will take them as one large group. One I would like to note is policy 3131. In the past, when the master agreement was in place, the reduction in force was inside of our master agreement. Then in 2013, under the new state law, they had to remove all language in master agreement except for wages and benefits and salaries. So therefore, reduction in force went to handbook or whatever. We have a handbook that Mr. Wallace and I signed that we follow. This reduction in force policy actually is the exact same one in the handbook. So it would meet the criteria, and it's actually very similar to what we had in place. The only difference is, remember, state law went to, you have to first use the criteria point of evaluation, teacher evaluation, as the reduction in force mechanism. So this policy would just reflect our handbook and move it in there. And the reason it's there is so that we would have an opportunity to have some significant conversation, and you couldn't just come in and make any random decision with like the handbook or anything like that if somebody else were in place. So I'm asking that you take all of these policies from bylaw number 0132.1 through policy number 5113 on their second reading and accept them, please.
So moved.
All right. Any discussion about these policies? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. The post-issue compliance.
This appears to be my night. This particular document, if you had an opportunity to take a look at it, I'm confident you have, was developed by Jane Hernan and Ice Miller. This is an ongoing conversation for the past many, many months relative to an emphasis by the Security Exchange Commission regarding compliance on bonds that we would issue, either to build buildings or geo bonds or whatever it might be. And this document, in short, is clarity of expectation for Franklin Community Schools, and specifically for me as the compliance officer, to formalize specifics about what we have to do and what other folks that we may commission to do some work will do for us. And I would probably note the Appendix A that's listed. We have reduced this in concert with Ice Miller to a series of items that we have to complete each and every year. And I would say this, we have for years used Lonnie Thurber with Thurber and Brock to help us complete this, but Jane's counsel to us was that we need to enter into a formal resolution, step number one tonight, and then enter into a formal contract with Thurber and Brock if we continue to want to use them, so that we know what we're doing and they know what they're doing. A lot of that's just been unspoken in the past. We have not had a contract with them, haven't for years. Lonnie's been here over 20 years. And so in Appendix A, it is broken down by task and everything that needs to be done. And so I'm asking for your permission tonight to approve post-issuance compliance procedures, which we in the business office will follow as we advance this conversation, both now and into the future, as we issue bonds and as we follow up and manage the bonds that we have outstanding. And then I would like to come back next month with a more formal arrangement on the appendix with Lonnie to determine what he's going to be doing for us and what we're going to be doing on our own, of our own accord. Be happy to answer any questions to the degree that I can. Roger probably can answer questions as well, anything that I'm going to fall short on. But Dr. Clendenning and I have been on this one now for many, many, many months, and this is something that we need to probably formalize this arrangement.
Jeff, could you just scroll quickly right through all those pages so the public can see all of the new jobs you have? No, that's amazing. This doesn't add anything to education.
They're 12 pages.
Yeah, it's a significant amount of time, energy, and effort.
Right.
All right.
So
It's been moved. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thanks. Exchange of property.
And I think some of you have seen this in the paper.
Yeah.
This is transfer of property from the city of Franklin. These are the, I'll click on this. This is just basically the list of items that they went through their resolution at the city council meeting to donate to the school corporation, and the value is a little over $5,000. Roger, is there anything you need to add to that? I know Janet Alexander had sent an email at one time saying we needed a resolution. My understanding from Dr. Clendenning is just approval of the board
That's
for
correct. The
this.
board simply needs to formally act to
Accept this into our, yeah. So that's what we're seeking here today. And these grow lights and all the bulbs and this equipment would be able to be used through the ag department and our biology department.
And also, we may be going to Creekside Elementary with a few of them as they start up a
Yeah,
greenhouse.
they're putting up a greenhouse at Creekside. There's a group of teachers there doing that too.
So these come
may
through
be
the city or through the forfeiture department of the prosecutor? Where do they came
through
from?
the city.
Yeah,
It was the
forfeiture. Yep.
Okay. Well, I appreciate their thinking of us and working with us. I mean, it's another great example of the bridges that Dr. Clendenning's opened between us and the other government units and of working together. So, yeah, I would entertain a motion to accept this gift.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Textbook adoptions.
Just quickly want to share the work of the Social Studies Textbook Adoption Committee. This committee consists of teachers from CBIS, the middle school and the high school. They've worked with myself and with Mr. Sprout to make sure that we adopt not only the best materials for students at each grade level, but also the materials that work best digitally and with our Chromebooks, in keeping with what the language arts adoption had done last year. So early in the semester, we started by attending the textbook caravan in Indianapolis, and then worked together as a committee to identify critical elements of an effective social studies curriculum. And then Matt really worked us through the AHP to weigh out and identify the most critical of those elements. Kind of what bubbled to the surface, if you as you take a look at that, you'll see content area literacy, the quality of assessments, and then working well with our devices. So using those criteria, we met back again with all of the different vendors. We've attached for your review the vendor lists that we're proposing at this time. And when you look at those, you'll see that we, across the board, tried to stay with a proposed adoption that is digital resources for students, but also classroom sets of print textbooks for use in the classrooms, with checkout copies to keep in the library to make sure that kids still have access to the print resources as needed. As you take a look at that, you'll see that grades 5 through 7 are leaning toward Pearson at this time. Grade 8 is looking at HMH, and then the high school is just a mixture of vendors based on what was truly best for students for each class. And then we'll bring back more concrete information as we finish up. We still are in some price negotiations with the various companies to ask for your formal approval then in April. And I know that Mrs. Brownelli has some information to share also about world languages.
World languages normally would have adopted last year at the same time ELA adopted. But our foreign language teachers here at the high school really liked the resources they were using and liked the online resources as well. And as the high school was going to one-to-one, they felt like they could save our families a lot of money by not adopting anything new. Well, the publishing companies kind of caught on to that. And the online programs that they are currently using that was adopted with the 2007 textbook adoption will be turned off. And we were forced to buy the 2015 online version. So again, they'll be buying classroom sets, and also getting licenses for every student to be able to access the next version of the books they're currently using. In addition, you'll see 2 miscellaneous textbook adoptions. That is for advanced food science. It's just a dual credit course. Mrs. Doherty teaches here at the high school. That textbook, I think, is driven by what Purdue wants her to teach with. So that book is on there. The second is a summer reading book from AP or for AP Language Arts that, again, is recommended by the College Board for the AP Language class.
All right, so this is not ready for any kind of action.
That's correct.
All
No,
right.
it's just for discussion tonight. We'll bring it back next month for action.
Okay, thank you.
Also note, if any parent would like to see a copy of the textbook between now and next month, to get in contact with the central office. We'll also have some at the library. Is that correct? Do we have any extra copies for parents to view?
Not of the foreign
Okay.
language. I don't know about social studies.
We can make the digital license available
Okay.
for preview.
All right,
Absolutely.
thank you.
The foreign language really is the exact same
Same
book,
book.
just the next series, next version.
Thank you. Neola policies, first reading. In December, we met with Mr. Mashmeyer, Mrs. Nally, Mr. Mercer, and myself, and we went over these policies. This is just the first reading. A couple of them to note. Drug-free schools, we are required by law, the state of Indiana, to have a committee on drug-free schools that meets. We'll wrap that into what we're doing with wellness at our school districts as well. And then in concussion, it's a new law for all of our student athletes to go through concussion testing. We have to have procedures and policies in place for that, and this just allows us to move forward with that in the future. And then transfer tuition just reiterates the fact that we are not charging, nor are we providing bus services for outside of our district. You can come to our school, we just won't go pick you up, and that's noted in this one as well, just for clarification. The remaining items really are just revisions of the present policy, and we'll bring them back in April for second reading.
All right, good. Are there any board comments?
I have one. This past month, our community lost two longtime servants of Franklin schools in our community, and two folks that had an impact on me growing up here in this school with the passing of Ted Server and Rose Jane Smith. And both were certainly at their peak of their game when I was in school, and retired not long after I graduated. But I will say that Mrs. Smith is probably the best math teacher I ever had. And I had a lot of them. Certainly the most challenging, the one that pushed me farther than I thought I could go, and set extremely high expectations for me. And growing up, my older brother was the same age as Mr. Server's oldest child, so I got to spend quite a bit of time at their home when I was a young boy. Incredible man of integrity, and we certainly, as a school corporation, mourn the loss of two servants of Franklin Community Schools.
Thank you for your comments. Any other board comments? Administration comments?
Just a real quick update. As you all know, I went out to the Dally Conference on Superintendent Leadership, where 70 administrators from all over the nation. It was a paid trip by that company, looking at which is a district management council. I'd say a couple things that we have a lot in common across the nation, where people are talking about what test is the best test. How do we move forward? We talked a lot about snow days. Interested in to hear how other schools do it. A lot of E-days are coming out as a conversation point. I would also say that the other aha that coming back is even when we have stressors, we still have it really pretty good. I was talking to some people from Wisconsin, and if you follow the journey of Wisconsin and what they're doing, a year ago they did away completely with collective bargaining. So I was telling Mr. Wallace about this, and to me that just doesn't seem like it would be the best practice in growing everybody together, but they talked about that. We talked a lot about how do you provide instructional leadership. There's a school in Georgia that uses videotape, whereas the principals right now go in and do a lot of the observation. They use videotape, similar to coaching. So when the kids are out here getting techniques and skill training, they watch video. The school in Georgia did that. The other interesting thing there is they saw classroom discipline plummet, because the kids did not really realize when was the camera on for video and when was it not on. So that was an interesting thing as you kind of traveled through. So just a couple of, that was just a very good conference, good opportunity to grow professionally. So I just want to thank you for that. Google Summit, Mr. Spout's not here. We are meeting April 11th and 12th. We have over 238. 223, and that's not including our people that are signed up. Google's very pleased with that. We are working with JCDC on publishing hotel accommodations. We've received excellent press on our keynotes. We will also have a pre-conference on Friday here, where we'll have our leaders going through different opportunities to interact with the Google people as well. So just Matt's doing a great job on sharing this out. He's been very appreciated. Snow Makeup Day is next Friday, the 13th. We had 2 days there a couple weeks ago where we were off, so we'll make it up 23rd and the May 26th, which is the day after Memorial Day. We're still graduating on that Friday, coming up on the May 30th. March 2nd, Bill mentioned this already, but anybody would like to go to C9's recognition and governing banquet, let Bill or myself know. You're more than welcome to attend. Next Friday, the 20th, we are at Creekside Elementary at 7 in the morning to 9 o'clock as a board work session where Creekside shares and highlights what's going on inside their building. Looking forward to that. We may ask for a real brief actual board meeting on that RFP, and also looking forward to some other personnel things. I'll keep you guys abreast of that. Spring break begins on the 26th. I would like also on April 13th, when we come back, if we could have a brief executive session to look at the process and steps in informal bargaining with what we're doing and moving forward with that. And then we already highlighted Katie for preschool registration on April 13th, 4 to 6:30 at Northwood Elementary.
Also, I forgot to add, kindergarten registration is April 7th. That will take place at all the schools, I believe. Principals, what time? 4 to 7, registration and screening.
Mr. Pettit will have the yard signs out any day now. So. All right, thank you.
All right, good. Are there any public comments? All right, hearing none, I would entertain. Oh, yep, I'm sorry. Yep. I glanced right over. Yep. All right.
I think we kind of missed it earlier, but thank you all for
Sure.
you. Just a couple of things. I wasn't planning on talking, but I guess just listening to you guys all tonight was good because it gave, I'm sure, the students a chance to see that you guys have big jobs and a lot more going on than just relational issues. And I mean, I know many of you would trust your decision making, and I know that relationally speaking, it's hard for you guys to be dealing with all of this because of your own relationship with Mr. Harder and his family. But you know, when you invite a principal in to the community and his family, and we all become very attached to that person and their kids. So just 2 questions. I guess first, is there anything you can tell us without infringing on Doug's privacy? Is there anything you can tell us as far as the direction you're going and what kind of brought those decisions on?
Well, this is your opportunity to speak to the board
Okay.
and tell us anything that's on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But this really isn't, we don't answer a lot of questions. I would like to state, though, that, we did thank Mr. Harder for his service. And so I don't know just where we are in that process. I'm sure that position is going to be posted, and there's going to be an announcement relatively soon on who the next principal is going to be.
Okay, so then I guess, our concerns probably are just, one is, as a public, are we, entitled to any information as far as, what you based your decisions on? And I would feel the same way. I mean, anybody up here who's serving.
Well, this is
if your
personnel,
position was
so
dismissed.
you wouldn't want the public to inquire about your
Correct.
personnel or your
Correct.
work, and we can't
Right.
comment on those things here either.
Okay,
We hire a superintendent. That's the only person that the board hires.
okay,
And then the superintendent makes all of the hiring decisions that are ultimately approved by the board.
right. Okay, and then I guess the second then comment would be, I would just hope, as a community, because the integrity of our community is so important to us, and we are such a tight-knit community. I guess I would hope that you feel like you have disclosed as much information to Mr. Harder about, even previous to his, his contract not being renewed, that you gave him plenty of information regarding what was expected and knowing how much time he had to fulfill those requirements. And then now, just very, very crystal clear about why, his contract was not renewed. Just so that when he does leave, that hopefully he will feel like, he was done well by Franklin. And so for whatever that's worth, I just hope that if it hasn't been done, I hope that that is done. That's all.
Thank you. I'll look closer this time. Are there any other comments from the public? All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off. I would at this point then entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
It's been moved to adjourn.